Welcome to our today's class. Today we are going to talk about male and female reproductive system, which is strand number 3 in the graded science, grade 7 work, living things and the environment. So the part is called female. We shall start with the male reproductive system. And in the diagram I can just zoom a little bit. As you can see, that is the diagram of the male reproductive system, and that's how it looks like. In grade 7 curriculum design or syllabus, our main focus is on 3 parts, which is the testis, penis, and the urethra. Let's say 4, and the vast difference. But for the purpose of learning and for the purpose of passing exams, you ought to know all the parts of the male reproductive system. You're supposed to know all the parts of the male reproductive system. So we have our first part as the seminal vesicle, which is part of the glands. We have seminal vesicle. Of course, we have the prostate gland. Prostate gland as part of the glands, and as you can see, it is shown there. Then from there, we have what we call the vas deferens. Vas deferens, which in simple terms is called the sperm duct. I'll just write in there, sperm duct. Instead of you calling it vas deferens, you can also call it the sperm duct. We have the epididymis. It's shown there. We have the testis. When it's 1, it's called testis. When it's 2, it's called testis. So the difference is here we have letter E for plural and letter I for singular. Then from there we have this muscular part called the penis. Some people will call it the penis, no problem. Then from there we have this tube that allows urine to get out of the body, or sometimes sperms. We call it urethra. Then of course we have bladder, which is used for storing urine. So those are parts of the male reproductive system. From there we'll move to functions of parts of the male reproductive system. We'll move to functions. Function of parts. So the first part is the testis, which is in the diagram there. Its main function is to produce sperm. Or sometimes people call it semen. You can also say semen. And hormones. So the main function of the testis is to produce sperms and hormones. And for hormones here, we are talking about the male hormones, which is the testosterone. So from there, we move to the second part, which is called the penis. Its main function, or the function of the penis, is that it's used to transfer and deposit sperms into the female vagina during copulation. So copulation is the process of having sex intercourse. So during sexual intercourse, it's used to transfer and deposit sperms in the female vagina. Another function, it is used for urination. It allows urine to get outside of the body, the penis. So from there, we go to the urethra, which is a tube that runs in the middle of the penis. We call it the urethra. Its function is that it is used for passage of urine and semen. Of course, semen is the mixture of seminal fluids and of course sperms. So from there we go to epididymis, which is attached on the testes here. I can just shade it a little bit. It's attached on the testes, and its main function is that it's used to store sperms. It's used to store sperms. Its main function is that it is used to store sperms, the function of the epididymis. So those are functions of the male reproductive system. From there we go straight to the female reproductive system, and that's the diagram of the female reproductive system. As you can see in the diagram, female reproductive system, we have this tube called the fallopian tube, or we can call it the oviduct. Fallopian tube or oviduct. We have ovary on both sides. If there are two, we call them ovaries. At the middle here we have uterus, or sometimes we can call it womb, uterus or womb. Then from there we have the cervix, as you can see it. And last but not least, we have what we call the vagina, or sometimes we call it birth canal. Birth canal. So those are the parts of the female reproductive system. And from there we'll go to functions of these parts. We'll go straight to functions. Functions of these parts. Functions of this part. So number one is vagina, which acts as a passage for child during birth. It allows giving birth. And another thing, or another function, allows deposition of sperms. Deposition of sperms. This is also another function of the vagina. So the vagina has two functions: allows passage for child during birth, and at the same time allows for deposition of sperms. From there we go to uterus, which is allows for what we call implantation to take place. And implantation is the attachment of the zygote or the blastocyst on the walls of the uterus. That's what we call implantation for nourishment. So the function of the uterus is to allow for implantation. From there we go to the oviduct or the fallopian tube, whose main function is fertilization to take place. It allows for fertilization to take place. And fertilization is the union of the female and the male sex cell. Remember, the male sex cell is the sperm and the female sex cell is the ovum. So last but not least, we're going to talk about the function of the ovaries, which is to produce ova, which is the plural of ovum or eggs, and secrete hormones. And these hormones, we are talking about progesterone, or estrogen, and luteinizing hormones. These are hormones that are produced by the uterus. That marks the end of our lesson. Thank you for subscribing.